Greetings, everybody. Welcome back to Factutainment. And we're discussing, for a belated Halloween special, we're discussing the Halloween tree because we ended up recording this on the day before Halloween.
Yeah.
uh, but yeah, this is a film that Avery was kind enough to join us for, but couldn't join us for the review for. Uh, but it's a 1993 animated fantasy television film produced for like Cartoon Network by Hanna-Barbera, and it's based off of like Ray Bradbury's 1972 novel of same name. And I'm joined by.
Hi, I'm Ormaster 101. I was gonna say something funny, but then I forgot.
Then I forgot I'm not funny.
Okay, okay.
So that was Beth, and then there's also Brady.
It's okay. We can all be not funny together.
Welcome, children. You know the Crusades? What, you thought that was about Christians killing all the Muslims? No, that was about Halloween too.
Oh my god.
What was it, the Crusade? They said something. I just wasn't sure what it was.
I'm gonna kick your ass.
Well, there was multiple crusades. There was the ones where Christians went up against Muslims. There was one where Christians went up against Jews. And there was the ones where Christians went up against other Christians. And there was the ones where they just sacked Constantinople for no goddamn reason.
There was also
I
the
can't believe
infighting in
I can't
Rome.
understand why people don't like Christians.
See, I've heard of Simon Says, but not Cruz Says.
Okay, so
All right, we're off to a good start.
the Halloween tree. I would
There
say
were
the
8
Halloween
major
tree.
crusades. There was 13 total.
The Halloween tree, I would say, is definitely a major Halloween film that a lot of people watched when they were younger. It was released, as we were talking about before, it was released in 1993 on the Cartoon Network. But there were some major changes.
It was released in 1993, but that would mean that it would be seen by people older than us, because I was born in 92 and I've never seen this movie.
Oh shit, you're right. Well, I remember it like airing in like the early 2000s.
Yeah, I guess.
But there were some major changes between the film, the cartoon, and the actual book. For example, there were more than just. Hang on, I forgot how many kids were there.
8, you said.
Well, no, 8 was in the book. In the movie, it was just
Yeah.
4 plus Pip.
4 plus Pip. Yeah, 5. Also, the group consisted of 8 boys instead of having the token girl in there. And the only
it was
character.
kind of weird how they still had a witch.
Yeah. And the only character that I believe was named was Tom.
To get the Crusades.
All the other characters were named after their costumes that they were wearing that night. So, also Pipkin was the other named character, and I guess the crazy old man was also named. But it was the beggar, 8-man, mummy, death itself, witch, and I do not remember the other names. Another addition is that they went to a couple different other old-timey locations besides just Egypt and the scariest place of all, France. And what the... What's with that? Like... He has
the scariest place of all, France, not the scariest place of all, France.
But yeah, they went to other locations such as Greece, ancient yeah. Instead of like medieval Europe, it was like I think Ireland with Celtic Druidicism, and instead of like talking about like what's the word? Instead of like talking about like the witches like being wit and just like witches being people who were just very smart, we like went deep down how like Wicca like had like its roots started with Druidicism and like with the Celts and stuff.
We can't have that in a kids' movie, now would we? That would be too educational.
I guess not.
An annual Halloween tree has been exhibited at Disneyland in California since 2007.
That's fun. Is there a picture of that? I'm not saying that to be
No.
weird. Just I want to see that. Halloween tree,
Pictures
Disneyland.
of children.
Apparently.
Oh, that's it.
And here you'll see this trees full of the souls of the damned.
I mean, it probably
That's
looks
what
really
happens
cool
in
when
this
you're there.
movie.
Probably. But I feel like I'm finished rambling about like the differences between the movie and the book. What did everybody think of the Halloween tree?
I mean, I thought it was all right, aside from the like weird historical inaccuracies trying to string all these things together to be vaguely Halloween themed. Like a few of them are come close, but
So I guess we'll go through the plot of just like the movie. So essentially,
oh boy,
the whole thing's narrated by the author of the book, Ray Bradbury, and it's
yeah,
basically. Good.
I thought it was also just Leonard Nimoy.
No, it was Ray Bradbury.
Oh, really? I thought it was Leonard Nimoy as well. Whoops.
Yeah,
So basically, they start off. It's like a small American town, and four friends show up as their respective homes. They're donning different costumes. You have Jenny the witch, Ralph the mummy, Wally the monster, and Tom Skeleton as a skeleton. And then they plan to meet up with their best friend, who apparently is the best person in the universe, Joe Pipkin.
yeah. The greatest kid to have ever been born.
Yeah, it's quite
All
literally
these
what the
amazing
narrator
miracles
says.
happened when he was born.
Yeah. However, he doesn't appear, so they go to his house. They see him being loaded into an ambulance with his parents along, and they ride to the hospital.
I think we need to mention here the joke I made.
Oh yeah, you said that. Oh, hey
Yeah,
guys,
that
I'm
was-
fucking dead.
It's like, okay, yeah. So when the kids are running up to Pip's house, they're like, oh. It's like, oh, where's Pip? Where's all the stuff? And it's like, oh, Pip had a stroke. And then it immediately cuts to Pip being loaded into a fucking ambulance.
That was a good one.
They see him being loaded in an ambulance with his parents. And then he's written a note explaining that he is going to the hospital for emergency appendectomy, which it doesn't feel like that be something that he'd be able to write down. Maybe a parent should have told the kids. Anyway, that they should celebrate without him. However, they feel they can't start Halloween without him, so they follow the ambulance to visit him at the hospital. Tom suggests to take a shortcut through the spooky woods, which is the dark and eerie ravine. And then they see what looks like a translucent Pip running along the ravine trail, and Tom leads them on. He's basically in denial, convinced that Pip has designed this as an elaborate prank, and that he's not actually going to the hospital or anything. He's actually doing this to, like, trick him for no real reason. So the group races after Pip, after, like, some of the kids are like, we probably shouldn't go through the ravine, but then they're like, well, Tom's already ran ahead, so we'll go to the ravine. And a lot of the kids are, like, very quick to, like, undercut each other or leave each other behind, which is a running theme throughout the film.
Like, oh, and they're also like, oh, well, Pip set all this up to trick us. It's like, oh yeah, he got this big haunted house to trick everybody. He hired the ambulance to trick us.
Yeah. So they race after Pip. He disappears into a towering and darkened mansion. They knock on the door because it's got like one of those old time knockers. And
I believe it's called
And the stairs.
the stairs make
The stairs
music
try to eat them.
as they climb it. It makes all kinds of music. Yeah. And so they get ushered inside because it's a haunted house, so it like sucks them in. And a man named Carapace Clavicle Moundshroud, aka Leonard
Moundshroud.
Nimoy. Leonard Nimoy.
Like, I think is a very
AKA
weird name.
AKA, I guess spoilers for this movie. We're doing an end of it. Who cares? He's heavily implied to be death. He's heavily implied to be the Grim Reaper. Basically, that's what he's doing in the film. He greets them inside. Moundshroud expresses disappointment that none of the children know what their costumes symbolize. He reveals that he is also going after the ghost of Pip. Pip sneaks and steals a pumpkin from his tree, where he's got like all these pumpkins that are all lit, and they're all supposed to be like souls of various people.
And also, Pip is very clearly a ghost. He's transparent, yet the laws of gravity still apply to him, and also, like, wind can affect him, so it's really weird, because they can also just grab him. Like, he is see-through.
I mean, Beth, don't you know?
And can fly.
He's a earthbound spirit.
Leave me alone, earthbound spirit. Leave me alone, earthbound spirit.
Here's best epic timing.
This is the part where everybody cracked up in the movie.
Well, yeah, because just the serendipity of it. Like, I had a stroke, guys. Sorry, I'm not going to be able to do Halloween tonight. Cutting to the amber lamps, like it was perfect.
Like on the note, they said, "Oh, he's gonna get his appendicitis or appendectomy or whatever." It's like, "Oh, that could kill people." Like, man, I guess, but
I mean, yeah, it does.
Pumpkin is high as fuck.
If you don't get treated,
I'm going to fuck this pumpkin, children.
Apparently, damn it, Beth. Now I got thinking of Moundshrouds in the queer polycule.
Please, no.
Anyway, this is what Pip looks like when he's
non-binary children.
Okay.
Okay.
Creepy book cover.
Yeah, man, cut back to the cover again with Moundshroud on it.
This one.
Yeah. Okay. I guess this is like fan art because his chin isn't quite as ball-sackish in this image as it is in the actual show. Viewers, I want you to look at this. Imagine what this man's skull looks like. Because it's just like a giant jaw, like a fucking trowel. And this bulbous cranium, like he's an alien gray.
All right, so this is Tom Skelton. This is Jenny, Pip, Leonard Nimoy, and then I believe that this is Ralph and this is Wally.
I think
that's just Leonard Nimoy. That's what he looks like now because he's dead.
Oh my God, Beth! What the...
Yeah, Wally's the monster. Okay, anyway. So, back to re-summarizing. So there's the tree of jack-o'-lanterns. Pip steals his own pumpkin. And then he falls to a pile of leaves, then he takes off of there, tries to fly away. Because he can fly, apparently, if he's holding on to his pumpkin. Sometimes. The rules of being a ghost in this universe do not make much sense. But Tom and the others beg Moundshroud to let them come with him to help bring back Pip. Moundshroud initially refuses, but relents, as if they can keep up with him before dawn, they might be able to retrieve the pumpkin and get Pip back, while also going on a scavenger hunt and learning the significance of their costumes and the origins of Halloween.
You're all participating in cultural appropriation, children.
Then there's Nick's favorite scene.
The kite scene was super I remember this. Really, that's a picture from the book.
Yeah, this is what it looks like in the book.
Oh, yeah, no. So,
when they start to try and chase after Pip, they realize they can't fly either, and Moundshroud's like, fine, I guess I have to do go down and click on the cover of the book on the second row.
Made in Lego.
No, not that one. The third image. Yeah. If you look at it real fast. Nope, that's not it. Yeah. It's all the characters together, and they form a skeleton. And a skull, not a skeleton, sorry.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, Moundshroud is like, fine, I guess if you guys can't fly too, we'll figure something out. And then they go to an abandoned barn that has a bunch of like pictures of
The circus.
yeah, for the circus, a bunch of circus animals, and they start ripping the pictures off, and they start forming into
Well,
what's the word?
the kite. The
Yeah, into a
animals
kite.
like come alive in the posters and rip themselves off and turn into this kite made out of like barn posts and barbed wire and lightning.
Yeah, it's super freaky.
It's probably my favorite sequence in the film. To be honest.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting. But they turn into a giant kite. They fly off after Pip, and then they travel 4,000 years in the past to ancient Egypt, and learn about a celebration called the Feast of the Ghosts, which they say in the movie is like this is the origins of Halloween. It's somewhat related. It is this festival so.
Ancient Egypt.
I remember I looked into this briefly. There was an actual feast of ghosts and spirits in ancient Egypt, and it was the It's also called the Wag Festival, known or as Thout in the ancient Egyptian Coptic language, and it was a holiday as a way to remember Osiris's death and honor deceased loved ones during their journey to the afterlife. And what they did, it happened in August, not October. Granted, this also took place at a time before Julius Caesar decided to insert him and his favorite nephew into the calendar as months. So we had 10 months instead of 12. But
That's how many months there were.
I slabbed my nephew in the calendar.
you ever wonder why December and Deca means 10, but December is the 12th month? You can thank Julius Caesar.
Man, those guys suck. I hope they get stabbed. I hope their empire falls.
Damn.
Caesar and Augustus. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. August.
So, basically during this holiday, people would leave out food and offerings as supposed to be like representation for like the spirits, as done in a lot of cultures. They would also is also centered a lot around the Nile River and boats, and it'd be like boats with provisions in them that if the spirits needed to use the boat to cross to the other side, there would be these vessels to take them.
Yeah, I think.
Sorry, can I borrow your boat?
I think the movie kind of like explained it badly. The Feast of the Dead isn't necessarily the Feast of Ghost isn't necessarily the origins of Halloween per se. It's more of like, how do I put it? It's more of like
related.
Yeah, like it's like the origins of like how like humans like have this like relationship with like death, and like how like they celebrate death, if that makes sense.
It's less so explaining the origins of Halloween in some cases, and more so explaining the origins of these costumes the kids just happen to have.
Yes.
Yeah,
they're only in ancient Egypt. They're only in ancient Egypt because one of them dressed as a mummy.
Yeah.
And so basically, they learn about this. They also learn about the mummification process in a very abbreviated version. And following Pip's spirit to a tomb in the pyramid, they learn. Go ahead.
The way they depict Egypt is so weird because it's like they immediately go to Egypt and there's just fucking ghosts everywhere. And they get invited into somebody's house to join in festivities or whatever, and they just have their mummified ancestor or whatever sitting at the table because they took him out of his sarcophagus, which I'm not entirely sure everybody got mummified like that. It sounds like...
If I'm remembering correctly, I'm not 100% sure myself, but hang on. A quick Google search can help. This did everyone get mummified?
Like how in Japan, not everybody hired samurai, only rich people hired samurai.
Yeah, I don't think everyone could afford mummification. I think it was just like more of the upper class.
Yeah.
It's too
Very,
about capitalism.
Because if
very
I
elaborate.
remember, a lot of like servants typically just got buried. They got buried with some of their items that would have been buried alive, but they weren't like mummified. They were just buried.
Not all ancient Egypts could afford to mummify the body. The poor would be buried in the simplest graves, along with some special possessions or pots holding food that they had while they were alive. So, So not everybody got mummified. But yeah, the book is like I think overall the movie kind of loses it. Like the point of like the book / movie is to explain like why we associate certain things with Halloween, and that's what the book does, I believe. Like oh, this is where like mummies come from, or this is where like the like why we dress up as witches and stuff. But like the movie seems very like dead set on it being like all your costumes have something to do with Halloween, and we're gonna go from there.
Yeah.
It's
This too is Halloween.
I mean, it is called the Halloween tree, but yeah. So basically, in the
Stonewall Riot,
pyramid,
that was Halloween too.
in the pyramid, Ralph finds a weak spirited Pip, begs him to come back. The priest come and begun trying to embalm Pip, and Ralph scares them away by pretending to be a real mummy, along with the help of
a white kid.
Moundshroud. Because they're both dressed as mummies and they both kind of scare the people. When Moundshroud confronts them again, Pip uses his pumpkin's magic to escape again, and the group chases him once more by like they grab onto Moundshroud's cloak and he flies.
There is a part where they have Moundshroud as a mummy, and like even his chin has wrappings on it. And he is shown as like a mummy, but somehow his nose is still there. Even though his flesh is decayed.
His death mask has his butt, chin, and like nose.
And I compared him several times while we were watching this movie. He is built like Marvel's Vulture. Just an old man with a hook nose.
I mean, you are in fact correct. He does look like the Vulture.
Yeah. So, then they travel through time again. This time they show up in the Dark Ages in England. They fly over like a town that's like kind of celebrating, and then they land at Stonehenge. Then they witness rituals carried out by Celtic Druids and villagers of the old Celtic world. As Moundshroud teaches them, Pip briefly appears and gets turned into a black cat, because it's said at this time
it's like a Peter Pan shadow.
The Celts and Wiccans believed that souls got reincarnated into like animals, and one of which was black cats. And they come across a field of straw being harvested, made into brooms, and discover a coven of witches chanting and celebrating the New Year. And then Moundshroud explains how and this is somewhat traced in reality. They were explaining that witches were very much real, but they didn't have magic powers. And that most of the time, anyone who was intelligent, thought for themselves, was creative, could figure stuff out, was considered performing witchcraft, or were witches and wizards. Which is interesting to note. It's neat that he explains that, because it gives some real world context to it. But it's also, this is a universe that very much has real ass magic.
Oh yeah.
So
no, they all went into that. They all went into that haunted house and hit like a gas main. They're all hallucinating this.
Holy shit.
But yeah, they explain that witch comes from wit, which I'm not sure if that's true.
I'm not 100% sure either.
I mean,
Brandon, do you have any thoughts or opinions yet?
It very well could not be true.
Do you have any thoughts yet?
It is also interesting that they do, every time the girl Ginny gets panicked, she starts counting to distract herself.
Well, she does math. She multiplies.
Multiplication tails.
It's something to distract her brain.
So she is shown as the witch, and so that was an interesting like parallel of
Fear
like
of
anyone
flight.
who was considered like smart was considered witchcraft. Anyone who didn't just listen to what the church was saying were
I'd like to say that I
evil.
really appreciate the way that was inserted into the story. It was,
Yeah.
I feel like that was really well written.
And then they Moundshroud helps the children escape a mob of anti-witch villagers who come and destroy this entire coven's like homes on
Yeah, they just
Halloween,
burn it.
and they burn it all down, and they're like trying to kill people. And yeah, that happens in this film.
Like, they show them making broomsticks and just like piling them up for some reason, and like that's not quite where the whole witch broom thing comes from. It has something to do with them like women would use them to masturbate or something,
What?
and while doing drugs to pretend. You haven't heard this before?
Well, there's
I
also
have
the
not.
saying. There's also the saying that witches rode their brooms because the brooms were supposed to be an allegory for the devil's penis.
Damn, call
Yeah,
me a
there's
witch.
like
Then.
something I read online is they do drugs and masturbate using broomsticks, and because they're flying because they're on drugs, well, sex.
Yeah,
I mean, I'd take that with as much a grain of salt as what they were doing in the film too. But
and I would say that like this touches on what is actually magic and what is not, which is in real world, along with many priests and medicine men throughout history, did perform healing, did perform what many considered magic, which kind of, in
Yeah.
at least my opinion and the opinion of many scholars I've read on the subject, states that they just had a better understanding of like of the natural world or just like physics and stuff around them without having the words to describe it, which people assumed was witchcraft. Which, in all fairness, like, yeah, I know how to produce static electricity and I know how to make what chemicals go together to make flashes of smoke. If I did that 1,000 years ago, I'd be called a sorcerer.
I mean, magic is really
Called a
just
hobo.
like whatever people don't know how to like explain or understand.
Yeah, it's a very popular
17
interpretation of magic. Is it's just like it's science, but you don't have the words for it.
I'm trying to look around to find like the etymology of the word witch. It goes from witch and then it goes into Wicca, but then I'm not really seeing anything about Wicca being related to like wits. I'm seeing like what's the word?
Yeah, the wit kind of feels like that was something that they wrote because it makes sense if you don't look at it too hard.
It just kind of
Something
fits into
witty.
the script really well.
17th century habit of women soaking, smothering, or saturating a broom handle with hallucinogenic herbs before pushing it into their vagina to absorb the opiates.
Oh, I see that.
Okay, then.
That was something on. Okay.
Moving on.
I'm
So these children ride the brooms that are not soaked in opium.
I mean, I
And they
don't
don't
fly
know that.
away. And
This is going in your butts, children.
Oh my god.
so then Pip is knocked off his broom by, I think, Moundshroud in an attempt to snatch away the pumpkin. Ginny catches Pip, but is afraid of losing him. He encourages her and then uses his pumpkin to dart away to the darkest timeline and arrives in France.
Yeah, Pip is a ghost, but she's able to like grab him in midair. I'll also add, at several points in this movie, the children are like clutching on to dear life for each other, like grabbing each other's ankles and whatever. And I feel like it would have like dislocated their joints at some point. Like these kids have incredible grip strength.
Yeah.
And at one point, the skeleton is like running alongside the kid on her bike, running at the same speed as the bike. Like, kid, what are you doing out here? You need to be playing for the Lakers.
I mean, she kind of caught up to him and then like matched his speed. So I don't think she was like. What? I mean, she was trying to talk to him, so it makes sense that she would like slow down and match his speed.
There are also several scenes of kids just falling off of things in this movie, which like, it's fine because they're kids. If you were 25 and fell off something, you'd just fucking die.
Yeah.
I would no longer have bones.
All right, so they follow Pip to France, and they arrive at the unfinished Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris. Learning of
Time
how the
travel.
cathedral was used to they say sanctuary multiple times. It's a sanctuary against the horrors of the night, but a reason that's a sanctuary of the horrors of the night is because many of the evil spirits are co-opted and become gargoyles and become their. So I believe a history of gargoyles, and I may just be completely wrong about this. A lot of gargoyle iconography stems from the idea of you take an evil entity, you turn them good, and then they become a protector as opposed to a destroyer. And
fucked up evil.
And so that's what gargoyles kind of signify is they're these spirits that are then used to scare away other spirits, like other entities.
Yeah, so this is honestly one of the weirder ones because one of the fat kid is dressed up as a monster, quote unquote, like really non-specific, but he only wears the mask at the beginning of the movie, and for the rest of the movie, he does sort of look hunched over, sort of like the Hunchback of Notre Dame, but the movie just says, "Oh, why do you dress up as a monster?" And then we're going to go to this fucking French cathedral to find out, and it's about gargoyles, and he's not like the Hunchback of Notre Dame or anything.
Yeah, that guy.
I do believe at one point he refers to himself as a gargoyle.
Yeah,
what if he said the word monster more than they ever said that?
If he was just called if I think the movie would have worked probably better if he had just been explicitly a gargoyle.
Yeah, if they made it more clear.
Yeah.
In the book, he is one of the characters is just straight up a gargoyle. So I don't know why they couldn't just carry that over into the film, and just why are you dressed as a gargoyle? But then again, sorry, you go first.
Go ahead.
I'm pretty sure. I can't remember his name. I know that we said it several times already, but I'm pretty sure he is a merging of the two of not only the gargoyle character, but there was also a beggar character in the book because I think they talk about.
How does a kid dress up as a beggar? How do they explain the historical significance of that?
So I think
it's because of capitalism, children.
No, I think it's it goes into how the trick or treating part of Halloween.
This is the fucking kite.
It's the fucking kite?
Yeah, it's the crazy kite.
Oh yeah. But yeah, I think how they explain the beggar and the Halloween mythos in the book is just well, where did you get trick or treating from? Where did that start? And that's how that goes. But I think both the gargoyle and the beggars storylines are also in Paris. So I think hang on, I'm literally looking at
they did mention the homeless at one point for some reason.
But yeah, I think Wally is a combination of both the gargoyle character and the beggar character from the book.
Yeah,
that's my literary.
So it's also. I think they mentioned the homeless thing.
Literary analysis.
The cathedral is supposed to be a place where lost souls come to seek sanctuary.
We're talking about the kites.
You're saying?
I don't know where you're going with this. Or how long you're going to keep going with it.
You mentioned the beggar thing, and I was like, I think the beggar part was at Notre Dame because he says the cathedral is where lost souls go to find sanctuary.
Mm-hmm.
And then they build the cathedral using help from Moundshroud, but it is interesting that Moundshroud cannot step foot in the cathedral.
He's always backing away from the cathedral's shadow, but they show all the bricks rising up and forming the cathedral as they're walking. Though there is a part where they walk up an unfinished staircase and they need to step off of it, so one of the kids just pushes another kid out, and then the bricks catch him flying up from the ground. Like this, we talked about the fucking kite scene or whatever. This honestly has the most fucked up scenes in the movie.
That's because the witty witch figured out the puzzle.
Yeah, so they're like hopping and jumping everywhere, and the cathedral is forming up underneath them. But then when they finish the cathedral, Pip is like frozen in stone, as a gargoyle, with like as a statue with water coming out of his mouth, and it's really fucked up.
Oh yeah, that's another analysis that Avery brought up that I was also aware of, is that gargoyles are specifically designed with a practical function within a building, that is to usually to drain the water.
Try typing statue.
Was that?
Try typing statue.
No. But oftentimes people confuse gargoyles with, I forgot what the term Avery used was.
Grotesque, I believe.
Grotesque, yeah. Which is a statue that doesn't actually serve a practical purpose and is just kind of an aesthetic decoration on a building.
And the picture was probably in the comments tag, so you're not going to find it. This is somebody looking, that's the tip of my tongue.
Yeah, this is the best image I can get. And it said that like they can only speak because it's like when the water is like flowing out of them, or like wind is going across their mouths. Mm-hmm. Which I believe is actually part of the mythos of gargoyles, because they would make a sound. It's sort of like how there's those like whistling pots that people make, where it's they fill it partly with water, and then by like moving the pot around, it makes sounds that mimic like different animals. Mm-hmm. Or it's like if you ever spun a tube around really fast, it makes a sound.
Yeah, like, this is just the most fucked up scene, because it's this child in anguish, frozen as a statue. Like a piece of fucking architecture.
Yeah, it was fucked up.
And then he gets freed by Wally because it's his turn, even though as the fat kid, he probably would have made more sense to like put one of the lighter kids on the shoulders and lift them up to grab it.
They are just climbing up and down the side of Notre Dame Cathedral. Like, one wrong move and you're dead, kid. And then one of them falls off and lands on a statue and doesn't like shatter his pelvis. And then the statue turns into a monster.
He's zapped by electricity first, by the way. I don't know. I was cackling a little bit when I saw that happen, because it was just so weird.
Here's a better one, hopefully. Yeah, it's kind of a funky scene. And then Pip flees again.
Somebody a fetish.
Pip flees again, and then they pursue him on the back of gargoyles.
Gargoyles.
And then they arrive in Mexico, and they learn about the evidence of skeletons in Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead festival. And they find very weak. So initially they like tour through this Mexican town. Dia de los Muertos. And they learn about like the different traditions a little bit. Like how there's the piñatas, then there's the sugar skulls, and the various flowers and cookies, and then they end up basically going to a graveyard.
Yep. Catacombs.
Yeah, this is the skull cookies.
Now, I've never seen a cat made out of combs, but that seems interesting.
Thank you, Brayden.
I like racism. Right. Anyway, they go to the Day of the Dead Festival, and then they go to the catacombs. And at first, I thought it was going to be another one where, also for some reason, the gargoyles become tombstones. But at first, I thought it was going to be another one where, like, they send, like, Moundshroud sends the kids down to get Pip because he can't enter it because it's supposed to be holy ground again. But apparently he can just enter it, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, Moundshroud's like what Moundshroud can and can't do is a little weird. Like, confused.
The rules of this universe are inconsistent, children.
Yeah.
Like he needs the kite to fly the first time, then he can just fly himself and turn to bats. Apparently,
Yeah, there was a scene. This is the thing I noticed when he tied himself to the end of the kite string, and then the next scene he is no longer tied in the kite string.
I would like to chalk it up to like him not wanting to like show his full hand to the children just yet, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
No, I mean I'm in the same boat. I think he wanted to make them like work for their first flying kind of thing.
Better work, bitch.
It's also the best scene in the film. So,
Also, you have to remember this is like a race against time. Like Moundshroud basically said, like if you can't get to Pip before dawn, he's mine. And all the kids are like, all right, fucking bet. And so he's, probably wasting time on
So
purpose.
they kicked him in the knees.
so they go to the catacombs, and then it's lined with like corpses, and it's Tom's turn because he's a skeleton, and he learns like about how a lot of it is you take like the fear and scariness out of death and the unknown by embracing it, by learning about it, by facing it. And so then he charges in and is able to like get past all of the zombies and other skeletons and gets to Pip to apologize to him. And he says that's all his fault because he wished that Pip would die so that he could lead the group.
So he wished something would happen to Pip so that he could lead the group.
Yeah. Which isn't necessarily what kid hasn't it's like a lot of kids I feel like wish something bad would happen and then that bad thing happens and then they feel really shitty about it. Like I think
because this is something we didn't mention. There's a part where the mummy kid says that Pip is the only kid who didn't make fun of me for wearing glasses, and the fat kid is like, "You helped me with something to do with fireworks. I don't fucking remember." These kids are awful.
Yeah, he's like, the fat kid says that Pip bailed him out when he was storing illegal fireworks, like set his house on fire.
Oh Jesus.
And then the girl says something about how Pip never mocks her for being a girl or something. And it's like the other guys make fun of you for that shit.
Damn, I must have missed that part. No, I don't remember a lot of the witch section, honestly, for whatever reason.
Blacked it out because there were women on screen.
Damn.
Misogyny or...
Alright, so Tom gets to Pip. Pip smiles, forgives him, promises to let him lead anytime he wants. Then Pip's spirit crumbles into dust and is gone. And Moundshroud says that has the pumpkin now and tells the children they did not make it in time. And now this was never a fair competition. He was always allowed to do this because he gets to make all the rules. And
when Pip was in the catacomb before his body, turned to dust before them, he was like stuck to the wall and I guess rotting or something.
I think it was like
also mildly fucked up or like spider webs or something.
Yeah.
What was I gonna say? So this is also another thing that's like different from the book. The kids get to the catacomb, and like they get to what's the word? They get to where Pip's resting place is, but they're too late. Like it's not a case of like Tom gets there and like he just makes it, but then Moundshroud is like, "Ha! I'm a huge piece of shit. Go fuck yourself." They like literally get there and like Pip is like gone essentially, and Moundshroud's like, "Well, it's dawn. I can't. You guys can't do it." And all the kids are like, "What the fuck, you rancid like bag of dicks?" And he's like, "Hey, I don't control."
It was very weird when they said that very graphic language in this children's show.
No, this isn't the children's book. but he's like, hey, I don't control the rate at of your friend dying. It can't be helped. And then all the friends band together.
I do not control the rate at which friends die.
Yeah, but
yeah, and then go ahead.
But like that's the point where the friends are like, okay, well, like we can't be too late. Like, how about we make you an offer? And Moundshroud is like, it's like we'll give you a year off our off of our end of our lives. And Moundshroud's like, are you sure about that? And they're all like, hell yeah. And Moundshroud's like, all right, fucking bet, eat parts of the sugar skull. And then Pip wakes up in like the thing, and he starts sprinting the fuck out. Like past his friends, and he's gone, but he's okay. But yeah.
So in the film, basically they also strike a deal with him. Although I do think it would have been, I don't know if it was necessarily better, but it kind of would have made more sense. Like there was like a window or something in the catacombs, and like just as Tom's about to like get Pip out of there, sunlight comes through.
Mm-hmm.
And it'd be like, oh, time's up. Instead of Moundshroud just being like, it's my pumpkin, I make the rules go away.
My pumpkin, I get to choose what I fuck.
So, basically, Moundshroud to the children, they didn't make it in time. Pip's soul is now his property. The children, like Tom offers them a year off the end of his life. When granted, I didn't watch this for a while. When I remembered this before I rewatched it for like this recording, I always thought that it was like the kids each offered 10 years of their life because that would be the time Pip gets, like when he returns. And so everyone was offering him 10 years so he would live like another 40. Instead of, apparently it's just each get offer a year off the end of their life, and as Avery eloquently put it, like, you just up the price for no reason.
Well, it might be like you might be still correct in the fact that Pip gets 10 years off of each of everybody's lives, but like yeah, at the end of the day, the kids kind of are in a bad like they made a bad deal. Like you could have haggled, like you didn't even like let Moundshroud like make an offer, and you didn't even like haggle down from there. Like maybe his starting offer was a year, and you could have haggled.
Yeah, because like I don't remember.
I assume Pip is getting more life for every year off their lives they get, but not necessarily. Oh yeah, he's just gonna live another 4 years and he's gonna die.
Yeah, they don't make it sound like a 1-to-1 ratio.
See, when I remembered it, and I was just wrong, but when I remember, I thought it was a 1-to-1 ratio, and they each gave 10.
I will say, it didn't sound like there was already a definitive acceptance from Moundshroud for just Tom's 1 year of life, but it did kind of sound like he was almost willing to accept it already. Yeah. So yeah, I can kind of see why add more at that point.
So Moundshroud accepts the deal, gives each of them a piece of sugar skull candy, and it has Pip's name on it for them to eat, sealing the bargain. Granted, they also previously he had given them each a sugar skull with their name on it that represented kind of like their own life or something.
And they just fucking ate the shit out of those. That's fucked up.
Pip's spirit revives. He snatches the pumpkin back from Moundshroud and flies out. The group immediately are then transported home to America in present day, having completed their 4,000-year journey. The children go to Pip's house, see if the experience was real, and are delighted to see him back from the hospital. They don't go inside his house, they just talk to him through the window, which they were talking way too quietly for him being on the second floor. But
listen, you wouldn't get it. Hey. You wouldn't get it. This is tokusatsu, you see. People will stand on the corner of a building and have a conversation with somebody else on the corner of a different building.
So
also this is right. Sorry.
And then they all deny having done this for Pip for no real reason, and then Pip's like, "Yeah, no, I know about the whole thing."
I don't know.
No,
If,
he had dreams of it.
Yeah.
He had dreams of something similar to it. He probably didn't realize what happened.
also, like, if your friend is currently recovering from I don't know how major an appendix removal surgery was in the 1990s, but would you like if I like I'm trying to rest and recuperate from a surgery, and all my friends group like come by and it's like, bro, you don't understand. We just went through 4,000 years to try and save your ass.
We made a deal with the devil.
I would probably like I don't know. I would probably like pop a stitch or something.
Yeah.
Also, hang on. How long was that surgery? Because he got hauled away Halloween night in an ambulance, and by Halloween morning he was back home in bed.
Yeah, that outpatient like that surgery and the outpatient service must be fucking crazy.
So I'm going to tell you right now, when I had one, I was in the hospital for like a week.
Yeah, it says the average length of an appendectomy surgery takes an hour. Person can expect to spend at least 1 to 2 days in the hospital to recover. Some can go home the same day following the procedure.
Jesus.
So I guess it depends on how extreme it is.
Yeah, no, I could not. I was in the hospital for a week.
Jesus. Oh man, Brayden, you must have been close to death. And somebody must have saved you by eating a sugar skull.
I guess.
I took some years off his life. I need to live longer. And to outlive all you.
No, we did that. That's
definitely outliving some of you.
See, that's why I'm actively dying. Is apparently I gave up 10 years. I didn't realize I was going to die by 40, and so now I'm 29, and it's ticking. It's ticking.
You didn't even give me nothing. I just stole that shit because I wanted it.
Moundshroud's knocking on your window and next to your room. It's like, hey, Chris.
And I'm just like, I have until January.
But
hey, buddy, what's up?
It's me, your friend Moundshroud from the Halloween Tree. I don't know what the fuck that was. Okay, so this was another difference between the book and the film. So, the situation, how the film starts versus how the book starts and how it ends versus the book ending is different. So at the beginning of the book, the 8 friends end up meeting up with Pip, and he's like, hey, I know the best place to trick or treat this year. And it kind of that's how it starts. They run into Pip as he's leaving his house, air quote, and he looks all ghostly and shit. And then they chase him to Moundshroud's house. And at the end of the book, they learn from his parents, or from a note that they found at his house, that hey, they Pip had to go to the hospital or something, which is the reverse of the movie where they see Pip get carried off in an ambulance. I know I'm saying it funny. Get off my ass about it.
Well, fuck you. I'm getting back on your ass.
But they don't see Pip at the beginning. They don't see Pip at the beginning of the movie, but they see him at the end, which is the opposite of the book. But then also the book has some weird once again, the book less talks about the origins of and just scary things and death in general. And I think at the end of the book it's they talk about how they won't have many Halloweens to go going through into the future and stuff, and then it ends with how the movie essentially ends with Moundshroud just taking all the pumpkins and going somewhere.
See, I have to wonder if the movie is trying to convey less about what they have to do with Halloween and more to do with just the costumes specifically, and where the concept of the costumes come from.
And as Nick just mentioned, the film ends with, at the mansion, Moundshroud blows out his pumpkin's candle, everything turns into smoke and disappears, and Halloween Tree, strong winds and all the pumpkins fly away, except for Pip's. And that ends the film.
Well, because Pips is back at home.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's Halloween.
Apparently this was made by Hanna-Barbera.
Yep.
Yeah.
Something about the character design seemed familiar. I'm not entirely sure what.
I was
I'll send
getting
you a
some.
link.
I was getting some meddling kids
Why are you sending me
vibe.
the link?
Discord.
Yeah, to see the what's the word
All
for
right.
the video, right?
Here's one where it's the kite.
Oh yeah, Ray Barbera's Halloween tree. Oh, there we go. Yeah. The at the age of 91, inspired generations of readers.
Okay. But yeah, what's everyone's thoughts on Halloween Tree overall?
Fine, I guess. Aside from being like way too tried hard to make it about Halloween, as opposed to the costumes. Like, if you want to talk about the origins of Halloween, then do that.
Yeah, because
bring up Wiccans in your children's cartoon. I'm sure the pearl clutching Christian white mothers will react positively to that.
As I said before, Halloween tree is a very it. I think it's a pretty good Halloween special. As Beth said, yeah, if you're gonna talk talk about the origins of Halloween, if you want to talk about them, or talk about what's going on with the costumes, I feel like it was trying to split it down the middle just a little too much.
Yeah.
Because
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say France is pretty scary, but you know.
So here's the thing: I don't understand why everyone hates France.
I blame miraculous.
I just don't.
I blame miraculous ladybug. I think that's why everybody hates France.
I mean,
One piece
Avery hates France because he's British.
Yeah, but then everybody hates Britain.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody hates everybody. That's how the world works. I hate
everyone hates Britain, and at least for the vast majority of cases, it's justified hatred. I guess you can say the same thing about France.
Were also
too.
colonizers.
Yeah. You can say the same thing about France too.
Brayden, what were your thoughts on Halloween Tree?
I thought it was a really good movie. I thought it was really good. I thought it was really well told kind of story. It's got a lot of grounded elements in the feelings that kids would get towards like their friend being lost or something like that. I based on the questions that the old man was asking the kids towards the beginning of the film, I was looking more into how they were going over the origins of their costumes more so than how they connect specifically to Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the script writers specifically could have clarified something like that a little bit more if that's what they were actually going for. Because it felt to me like that's what they were going for.
Now, Brayden, what are your opinions on the French? Answer quickly. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I know. One thing I did want to point out though was that I thought the pacing was good for its time. It was really good for. Obviously, one thing we had mentioned while watching it. One thing we had mentioned while watching it was that it was it seemed to be designed for television with implanted commercial breaks in between the segments of the costume explanations.
Which I think that's because the version I got is from when it aired on Cartoon Network.
I'm pretty sure the Halloween Tree was
because there is a full VHS release for it.
Ah, okay, that makes sense too.
Yeah, but it was probably designed with television in mind when it was written out.
Enough. I was just going to say, I don't know if that's because I have the actual VHS version or I have this was aired on television and then the person who got it just cut out the commercials version. So either way, we got to see it. It was really hard to find a copy of this film. I'm sorry.
even. Oh, sorry, you go first.
I'm gonna go on to a whole other topic. So finish what you're saying.
Oh yeah, Emmy.
It was hard to find even through looking online, air quote.
Yep.
Damn.
We'll say this movie feels like several other like quote unquote educational movies around the time where like, oh, kids get into a predicament and they have to go through time periods to find the origins of things. Like I feel like there's been a lot of kids movies like that. The same vibe.
I remember one that it wasn't like going through time, but it was like a library and it was like exploring like the genres of different fiction.
I do remember that. I can't remember the name.
The storyteller, Page Master.
Page Map. That I think that's it. I was getting some. I was getting some heavy. Oh, sorry, you go first.
Oh,
I was getting some heavy Magic School Bus vibes for some reason. I don't know why.
I guess kind of. The thing, this is something I probably remember and probably nobody else remembers. There was some sort of, I want to say, Tonka PC game where you are going throughout history and helping build historical places, and there's like one part where you're in the future.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say you helped build the Great Wall at some point. I barely remember this.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever had this kind of game.
It sounds familiar.
Well, I don't even know if this is the right game that any of these images are from.
Fair enough.
I know I don't recognize that face. That's probably too new. It would be something from the 90s.
This looks like it's from the 90s.
Damn, Jesus. I don't fucking remember.
Hey, it's all good if you can't remember. You might remember at some point.
It's all bad. No, Aura, you don't understand. I need to know.
Okay.
This really isn't actually important.
Okay. Well, final thoughts, Halloween Tree.
Yeah, pretty good. 10 out of 10.
Yeah. I thought it was really good. A little bit of polishing here and there on the conveying of information, but otherwise I thought it was written and done really well.
I was gonna say, Rand, they didn't dive into like the histories of the places that in depth. Granted, it's only an hour-long movie, but I am gonna say, and this may just be wrong, but I am gonna say I did think they handled each culture respectfully enough.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they didn't do what was obviously done at the time, which is obvious racism. Like, yeah, except for that one case dressed up as Native American. But that was like a blink in you moment, like not even, he wasn't even a main character. But they weren't doing like any
obvious. Talk about the Trail of Tears, children.
They weren't doing any obvious racisms. They weren't doing, like, I guess you could argue that being a mummy is cultural appropriation, but
I
don't think so.
Yeah,
and mummies are from so many different cultures. They specifically showed the ancient Egyptian mummy, but we do know there were Chinese mummies. There were South American mummies. So it's like
there's bog mummies, which are from the UK.
Yeah.
The Egyptian mummy is good. I'm sorry, you go first.
Bill.
Did you just say milk?
Yes.
Okay. Any other thoughts?
Wait. Hang on.
Because in the UK, it's called mummy.
Oh, okay.
Oh, God damn it. Tune in next time for when we review the sequel that nobody asked for, the Christmas tree. What the
we watched Tetsuo Body Hammer.
Oh, God.
Did you say the sequel is the Christmas tree?
Yeah. No, the sequel to this is Dragon Ball Z: The Tree of Might.
No, the Christmas tree. I think Aura said the Christmas tree. That's fucking great.
Bye, guys. Have some binary pals.
That joke. We're watching the movie.
Join us next time. Join us next time for Arbor Day.